for watching SLC TV, Salt Lake City's government access channel. For this week's episode of Capital City News, we hear from Melissa Jensen, the city's Housing and Neighborhood Development Director, about Growing SLC. And our History Minute this week is about the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. Let's get started with our legislative update and look back. At its October 24th meeting, the City Council, acting as the Redevelopment Agency Board, allocated $4 million to purchase property for a mixed-use, mixed-income affordable housing project. To learn more about Salt Lake City's efforts to address affordable housing, visit slcgov.com/hand. 20 new fire recruits just graduated and were sworn in as official firefighters. 14 will join Salt Lake City Fire Department. After 15 weeks of in-depth, hands-on training, new firefighters for Salt Lake City and Sandy will take on the journey to serve, sacrifice, and protect.
As you take your oath today, please remember why you joined the fire department. It was your passion for helping people, your passion to prepare effectively, respond professionally, and impact positively. Congratulations to you. We owe you a great deal of gratitude.
46 of the top professional tree climbers from the U.S. and Canada gathered in Salt Lake City to compete in the 2017 North American Tree Climbing Championship. The event, held at Liberty Park, showcased professional arborists demonstrating skills needed to safely climb and care for trees. Climbs, limb walks, and bucket truck rides were also part of an arbor fair. Liberty Park, home to over 2,000 trees, has the third highest concentration of trees in Salt Lake City. Learn more about Salt Lake City's urban forestry program at slcgov.com/forestry. As the population grows in Salt Lake City, so is the need for affordable housing. Estimates anticipate 30,000 residents by 2030. Melissa Jensen, the director of the city's Housing and Neighborhood Development, is here to share more with us about Growing SLC, the city's 5-year housing plan.
What is the need in our community, specifically for those that are lower income? And what are some of the challenges that developers face? And then how do we really make this a city where everyone wants to live and can live? And so the housing plan really addresses those three things. The first is, how do we create more housing types? How do we create an environment in which cottages can be built, or duplexes, or single-family attached homes? So we have condos. It's not all single-family or high density. It's a wide variety. The second piece of the plan really addresses affordability. So if we could get more housing types and get a wide variety, how do we make it affordable? How do we really allow people who work in this city to live here? And that goes to, folks that are making $20,000 a year, $35,000, who could never afford to live here, but certainly commute and work here. And of course, that affects air quality as well, right? If you're having to drive in and drive out of the city every day, then you're adding to our pollution problem. And then the last is really about equitability and opportunity. So regardless of where you live in the city, let's make sure you have opportunity, and let's make sure you have access to live where you want to live. Why this matters and why the city is getting involved is because the market can't take care of it, right? So the market has not been, the market doesn't think about how to create a robust and healthy and diverse economy, right? It thinks about return on investment only. So the city plays a role in making sure that the things that we love about Salt Lake City, its diversity and its vibrancy and feet on the street, is where we drive our sort of role in both housing and other facets of our community. And so what that ends up helping in neighborhoods and et cetera is that when you have a family or a single person that cannot afford their rent. That means every single thing they do from day to day is focused on how to pay the rent. So they're not thinking about how to be a good neighborhood watch person. They're not focused on getting their kids' homework done because they want to make sure that first and foremost there's food in the fridge and a roof over their heads. And so when we can create a stable environment for people to live in, then they can give back to our communities the way that they want to. And at the end of it all, if they're only paying a reasonable amount in rent, their money goes back into our economy. And so it really is the key factor in helping all of the other parts work together. So I think one of the things that we have already launched is a community land trust. And so what that means for the community is that certain parcels of land in your neighborhood or somebody else's are going to be committed to affordability in perpetuity, which means whatever's built on that piece of land is going to be affordable. That's a real pillar of preservation for our community. Another thing the community is going to see is a real effort to identify a long-term funding source for affordability. The reason we don't have affordable units is because we don't have enough resources to leverage to build them. And so another piece is going to be through a legislative ask or through community ask is really going to be around providing a long-term funding source to build ongoing affordability so we don't end up in a crisis again. And then I think where the community will also see our housing plan in action is on parcels like the Barnes Bank building, which we've just launched, where there's the exchange. And here we're really producing innovation and we're driving the market through creating new types of units. Micro units are going to be their very small, livable units geared towards efficiency of space. Within it, we're going to have a food court that's committed to our immigrant community through collaboration with IRC's Spice Kitchen. And so you're going to see a lot of innovative use that ties to the housing plan and creating a space and opportunity for everyone. So for anybody who's interested in what we're doing or wants to be involved, they should certainly visit the Housing and Neighborhood Development website at slcgov.com/hand.
Next up is our History Minute.
On November 22, 1963, President John F. Kennedy was assassinated by Lee Harvey Oswald. The shockwaves of such an act rippled across the nation, and no corner of the country was exempt from mourning. The next day, the Salt Lake Tribune and other local newspapers reported on the national crisis, but also the scene at home. Governor George D. Clyde called for flags to be put at half-mast across the state and could only say that, quote, "Our hearts were filled with sorrow." LDS Church President David O. McKay said that it was terrible to think that such a tragedy could occur, before offering prayers to hope the nation could be comforted in their grief. The bells of the Cathedral of the Madeleine tolled for 15 minutes straight when news was confirmed that the president was dead. City offices closed, and according to the Tribune, students cried unashamedly when they were informed of the president's death. It was a day that will never fade from the memory of the country, and no one, from Salt Lake to Dallas, was unaffected.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of Capital City News. Please join us next time to stay updated on government news. For SLC TV, I'm Poonam Kumar, signing off from the Avenues neighborhood.